climate crisis deepens, the corporations making money off the last few years of our fossil fuels will set eyes on water, and our survival will become commodified, and it already is in some parts of the world. If anybody remembers, this is a lovely cartoon that I found the last time I gave this talk. This kind of sums it up exactly what we're doing. Michael Burry, the man credited with noticing the housing market bubble was about to burst and predicted the 2007 economic crisis. What stocks and investments do you think he's focusing on right now?
Water.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Without water we die. Let's say it again. In 2040, we will have half the water we need to survive on this earth. We need to know where we come from. Develop a relationship with water. Take stock of our violent nature as descendants of white Europeans and American culture. See the genocidal nature of what it means to dismiss water. The indigenous would laugh at the way we treat water. Our lack of respect for floods, droughts, rivers, and streams. They would say only a genocidal culture would keep the water running while they got something out of the other room. Only a genocidal culture would put frozen water inside of water to make a drink. Only a genocidal culture would put water in plastic, drink it, and then put the plastic in the water to pollute more water. Only a genocidal culture would order water at a restaurant and then leave it on the table, discarded and ignored as if it didn't matter. Life and love left behind to be thrown away. Only a genocidal culture would flush water down the toilet, would bathe in it and also cry about their day, would take a shower and completely ignore the love all around them. Only a genocidal culture would be blind to the love, because it's as Francois Paulette said, white people think that water comes from a tap. Develop a relationship with water. Water doesn't come from your home, it is your home. It is the mother. From now on, when you turn on that faucet, I want you to pretend there are diamonds flowing out of that faucet, and that is how precious it is. When you take a shower, let that love flow all over you, soak in every crevice and take it in. Think only loving thoughts as this selfless and life-giving element caresses your entire body. Are you lonely? Drink water. You'll have love inside of you. Get back to fundamental, elemental understandings of where you come from and why you're alive. Love your life. Choose life. Acknowledge the love you are. Water is life. Life is love. Water is love. This is the Missouri River. This is where we are from. Maybe not where you started, but this is what is giving us life right now. This is why we're all in this room. For 12,000 years, this river has given life to human beings and the world around it. This is the measurements of where we are with water in our bodies. It's pretty important to our survival. This is the depiction of the Missouri River in the Nelson Atkins Gallery by Maya Lin. I suggest you go look at it and just give it some thanks. So, meat picture people. I love food, and I'm vegan, but I do love food, and I will take a picture of any food that's done very well. Once upon a time, I went tailgating. I am a sports fan, it does happen. And I was impressed with this crew next to us. They brought their grill on a pickup, unloaded everything, and began to cook a meal enough for 25 people. I measured all of this and calculated it. How much water do you think is on this grill? Okay. 12,000 gallons. 1,200 gallons of water per 1 pound of beef. There are 12,000 gallons of water on this grill, and not one human being drank any of it. When you post your meat pictures, if you must, for me it's like a selfie on the Titanic pretty much, please post the amount of water that meal took. If you post a burger, it's about 800 gallons of water. Put that as your caption. Keep it in your mind every time you're eating, the amount of water it takes to keep one person in America alive. Braiding Sweetgrass, I brought it with me here. This author is incredible. This is one of the best books I've read over the last 5 years. She is, I'm going to mispronounce this, she's a member of the Anishinaabe tribe. She is a professor of botany and she's also a poet, so her writing is extraordinary. But the way she talks about the systems of plants and how they work, she's also in charge of economic restoration. So how do you recover a lake that's been poisoned for 50 years? How do you get it to have life again? She's very good at this and explaining it. One of the things she talks about that is non-negotiable is engendering nature. If you're going to develop a relationship with nature, the tree is a he or a she, the ocean is a he or a she. We already talk about Mother Earth like it's not a big deal. We have to start extending that out toward other things. Because when we think about the toll and the cost, those trees died versus that family over there. They're deceased. It makes a big difference in the mind to engender nature. I really encourage you to do it. Soil, Not Oil. I don't know if I have this one with me. This is one of the first Donna Shiva books. She was responsible for getting Monsanto kicked out of at least 4 or 5 provinces in India. She's quite successful. She calls herself a seed protester. Wherever she goes, she's got seeds in her pockets and she just throws them around. She's quite amazing to watch. Coming Back to Life, forward by Matthew Fox. Any Catholics know Matthew Fox? My favorite excommunicated Catholic. And then Donna Shiva, Staying Alive. Drawdown. This author was here just recently. This is the one Margaret Atwood talked about. This is going to be the way in which we solve it all. He can reverse it. And then Order of the Sacred Earth. So Matthew Fox was there and he gave this incredible ceremony about grounding. I don't know if you know about the term grounding. You literally stand in the earth and it recharges your ions, the electrical current of the earth we keep buffering ourselves from. So our free radicals build up. And if we would just be barefoot in the soil for a while, it would take our free radicals and convert them into better energy and we would be recharged. It's done all over the United States now, especially in indigenous cultures. They carve out places to lay down in the soil. So when Matthew Fox was there giving his ceremony on connecting again with the earth, he was pretty strict. You just don't sit down. You get your head down, you get your hands down, you get your knees down and your feet down, and you do a full face plant into the earth, and you just hum. And it was quite extraordinary. I didn't participate. I taped it, and I was really moved to tears by the sound coming out of people. It was quite extraordinary. Seedfreedom.info is Donna Shiva's website, and then Permian Global is another resource that Margaret Atwood talked about. Parliamentofworldreligions.org, check it out, or parliamentofreligions.org, excuse me, and sign the global ethic. That will give you step-by-step ideas of what's happening and what you can do. Now, I would love a Q&A, but I want to say something first. I brought water. If you feel moved, if you feel comfortable, if it's out of your comfort zone, I get it. This was really cheesy for me at first. If you want to take some water home with you, here's a rule. You're going to sign your name on top of it with the date, and you can't take it with you until you acknowledge it and say thank you. You have to thank the water. And this is something that I've got my 11-year-old doing now too, turning on the water, saying thank you, turning it off. Every time you encounter this element, you say thank you, because it has kept you alive and all of your ancestors alive, and that's why you're here. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. I hear lots of humming. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
You talk about how much it takes for beef and American and use and stuff. And I think we all have heard this before, but we also know that the amount of water in the world is not evenly distributed in the usage of it. If I stop eating beef here, how is it going to help someone in the middle of Africa? What are the plans to redistribute it? The water isn't going to be sent over there.
Because animal agriculture creates a climate crisis by taking away or creating more evaporation. It disturbs the weather patterns. So the more you boycott American beef, which is coming from the rainforest of the Amazon, the more you give a chance for the Amazon to regenerate again. The Amazon has to evaporate water from its canopy in order to create the, what are they called? The wind systems that move around. So when we talk about the Amazon being oxygen, it's because of that evaporation that creates a river in the sky, and that river then gets pulled around the entire planet. Our fast food and our fast food beef has become our restaurant beef. That is all coming from the Amazon.
The beef itself?
The beef itself is coming from the Amazon. Animal agriculture, they're clearing football fields a minute for beef that gets imported then into America. If you go to like Trader Joe's and you look at a pound of ground beef, it's from New Zealand, it's from Brazil, it's from Nebraska, it's from wherever. It's all those different sources in that one package, which I think is kind of scary. But yeah, it's because the meat system is global now. It's not, our meat just doesn't come from Nebraska. So that's why. And this guy, he's a Vatican priest from India who teaches at the Vatican and teaches in Rome science classes on climate crisis. Incredible chapter on water scarcity. This guy has the sweetest, most innocent voice, and he talks about the worst doom you could ever imagine. But he's wonderful to listen to, and I don't know if it's in here, but his graphics were things I'd never seen before. You know, and he pointed out over and over and over again, the victims of climate crisis are going to be the poorest countries in the world, poorest continents in the world, not us. We will develop resources to avoid it. And we have options to move to higher land, which many people don't. So check this guy out. He can explain the weather patterns because the evaporation isn't coming so much from the oceans anymore like it's supposed to. It's not dumping the water we need on the mountains to freeze and become snow. It's not happening.
Well, they also say the biggest wars are going to be about
Right, so everybody remember the Arab Spring, right? And the guy in Tunisia who set himself on fire, the fruit vendor who set himself on fire to begin the Arab Spring. Well, the Arab Spring that happened in Egypt was because of food shortages. People don't talk about that. They were sick and tired of waiting in lines and all that violence erupted. So part of that Arab Spring was a food shortage issue. Yes?
Talk about not eating beef, but if you have to substitute something, which is grain, and you go across Kansas and you see all these irrigation things going on. So, are we not using just as much water to grain and things like that?
Grain can produce a lot more food. So, yes, that's true. But if we look at the grain that's produced, it can feed much more humans than one cow can feed.
Does grain itself provide all the nutrients? And all
Not
the things?
necessarily. We have to do soil work. Where's my soil, not oil? Soil work. We have to get B12 back in the soil. So people are doing that by planting plants that have 20 feet of roots that go down. They're pulling the nutrients back up into the soil to get it to the top again because America destroyed its soil. And so we have to re-nutriize the soil, basically, put it back in there. There's a lot of work. It's not just about stop eating beef. We have to redo the monoculture system. So Donna Shiva talks about learning the ways in which biodiversity works. So she always talks about planting beans and corn together because beans need shade and corn provides it. And if you plant beans and corn together, if the corn crop fails, the beans still survive. If the beans fail, the corn still survives. So we need that biodiversity in the soil. Yes?
Everything you said makes great sense, so thank you. But to play the devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
What do all these folks say 50 years ago didn't exist? It does exist now, desalinization of the salt water in the oceans. It's a question of expense.
Yes.
It's very expensive.
Yes.
And computers 40 years ago were too expensive for
Yes.
everyone. Once that price, I mean, we explore other universes. There's a science answer to that. Now, getting rid of the salt's another issue, but does desalinization come up from any of these folks, and what's the answer to that?
Not that much. I was thinking the same thing too. And it could be that I missed the lecture on desalinization. I don't know, but it doesn't come up as much because it just isn't as feasible now. And things that weren't feasible 40 years ago, like solar power, are incredibly feasible now, and we're still not doing anything about it.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with
Yeah,
that.
right. And you bring up a good point. I don't know enough about desalinization, but I know people are working very hard. They are. Because also, the fresh water we do have is trapped in rocks anyway, most of it.
Mhm.
So, and then what happens if we remove that water, we don't know. Yeah. Yes.
I was born in Milwaukee on the Milwaukee River, and I grew up in Stanton, Nebraska, in the Beef State on the Elkhorn River. And I really like what you're doing, and I spoke with you before, and I'm going to look at some of your books and all that. And I know you're talking to a lot of groups.
Yes.
How is your message retrievable or accessible to lots of people? Because it seems like
Right.
it's too weird.
It is.
People aren't gonna go to the
It's
parliament.
very weird, but what's gonna happen when we have no choice? The indigenous have always honored their place of living. They've always recognized the relationship and not the exploitation. They would never take more than they needed. So if you know that book Ishmael about the guy who talks to the gorilla in the cage, and the gorilla talks about the takers and the leavers. Indigenous have always been leavers, we've always been takers. We take more than we need. So biomimicry, so the indigenous use biomimicry in all of their myths and stories. They talk about how the tree only takes what it needs, and so we are to do the same. Their role model is the ecosystem. Our role model tends to be people that did a lot and too much and took too much, right? Our idea of leadership is being strong, and their idea of leadership is to listen to things that they aren't. So they understand that maybe something that's not human could have more wisdom than the human sitting next to them. They're not afraid of that ego loss. And we as white Western European descent people, we have a problem with that. And a lot of it has to do with the misinterpretation of the Bible of dominance over stewardship. That is a problem. But also that how we define success by ownership and by and overpowering people to get to be the best, that's also a problem. Success is defined as an overwhelming sense of something rather than just being. So we're not human beings in our culture, we're human doings. And that has a lot to do with our problem. Yeah, it takes a lot. And you start talking about meat with people, ooh. You know, the burger is their identity. That big steak is a part of their world. And interestingly enough, when it comes to masculine-feminine talk, many beef. You know, they get their masculinity gets threatened.
I probably
by
last ate a
beef.
hamburger 10 years ago.
Right. Well, right.
I don't do it.
But what I'm saying is there's many hurdles to overcome in terms of cultural perception of things. It's a lot, and it's all mixed around. I'm on the part of listening to the indigenous. I'm on the part of taking their ways and making it work because their ways will save us. Absolutely save us. Because they knew all this stuff, 500 years ago. Yes?
Should I water my lawn and keep it green?
Get rid of lawns. What do people need lawns for? Lawns have become this, status symbol, right? Do you remember victory gardens in World War II when everybody had to grow their own food? I mean, why can't we create a crisis around this right now? Can you imagine not having to mow your lawn?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And what is that water doing but feeding the status of the suburban world? It does nothing. So you have green in front of your house. Ooh, And it's just interesting. And many, many, many Europeans have commented on this with people that live in, I'm from Arizona. People had green lawns in Phoenix. What are they doing? Golf, let's build golf courses in Arizona. Really?
Should I grow a garden?
Yes. Or a gravel, or a Zen garden. You can rake for contemplation, whatever. But lawns are a total waste. Especially my favorite is driving in a rainstorm and watching someone's sprinkler system still be on. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. Yeah, coming back from Parliament now, I drive up to there and I knock on their door and would you ever think? So yes. Yes. Yes, good question. Let's start the movement. No lawns.
My neighbors are gonna love it.
No lawns. Let's do it. Yes. No. Sounds fabulous. Okay, I will.
You were saying about the state.
Yeah.
They're experimenting on all types of plants and stuff.
Yeah.
One of them is perennial wheat,
Yes.
and you would love that.
Okay, I will.
They have just Google it, they have a festival or something right around that.
Okay.
We couldn't hear the beginning of what you said.
The Land Institute, so like Kansas.
In Salina,
Yeah.
Kansas.
That's Wes Jackson. He's world renowned. He came and spoke here. I arranged his talk for the Peace and Justice Committee about 12 years ago, right after he had gotten a huge award. I don't know if he got one of the Genius Awards. I think he got a Genius Award. And he's not in Salina. He's in a little, much smaller town.
Well, it's right outside.
South,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's right outside of
The Land Institute.
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you speak to just a couple of positive signs you see happening in this country today?
Okay, so it's funny because Margaret Atwood talked about this and I just saw it for all the marathons out there. There are seaweed packets, right? They're about this big. And it used to be, so you have to look at, I'm going to say one bad thing first and then I'm going to get to what I promise. Events. Anytime you have an event, there should be a big bell going off. Events. What can you do to reduce waste for events? Events are our #1 cause of litter, pollution, and waste. Events, right? I cringe every time I go see a baseball game because they give me the beer in a plastic cup and then everybody throws the same plastic cup away. So marathons were these huge waste, piles of plastic cups because the marathon runner, somebody hands them water, they drink and they throw it behind them. And then of course the cleanup of all of that. So somebody invented seaweed packets that have nutrients inside of them and a pocket of water. And now they hand out the seaweed packets, people toss it and then consume the seaweed, giving them more salt to give them more energy, etc., etc. It's a perfect system. It's absolutely perfect.
How's it packaged?
I just saw them handing it out. I'm not sure how it came. Yeah.
Okay, what are they doing with the packaging?
Right, I don't know. I don't know how it's packaged. I just know that the seaweed itself, it's got to be less than plastic.
They need to make the packaging evident.
Yeah, right. Well, and when I went to Japan when I was 10 years old in 1984, everything that was candy in Japan was packed in rice paper they ate. There weren't any plastic wrappers at all, right? This was so efficient. There was something else I was going to say about positive things. Okay, I am or was a Ziploc bag freak. Everything went in a Ziploc bag. I have not bought Ziploc bags in a year and a half because now I put everything in glass containers and I use the beeswax wraps. They are fabulous. There's a new laundry detergent company called Drops and they will send you little packets of detergent that are in cardboard boxes that can be recycled, and you pop them in, and it's gentle enough detergent for the environment, the underground water system, and you can even bathe in it. It's very gentle detergent. There are companies all over looking how to reduce our own personal plastic usage. Cling wrap was my other favorite. Oh, I loved cling wrap. I really loved my cling wrap. I bought one cling wrap in a year, and I used to buy every 2 months. So those are some positives. It is possible to be plastic free. And also National Geographic, I just want to say the last 4 or 5 months of National Geographic have put out some pretty incredible articles about what people are doing.
I'd just say Ziploc bags last a really long time if you wash them out and
Yes.
reuse.
Exactly.
Yes, I reuse as well. But also it takes water to wash them, just to let you know.
I just bought cotton mesh bags and muslin bags to take to the grocery store instead of using the produce plastic bags. They're wonderful, and it's just put them with all the other stuff you carry to the grocery store.
Yes.
And they're getting used to them at Price Chopper. At first they're like, well, I can't see what's in there. You just open.
And if you have plastic bags that you have to use a produce, please put more than one vegetable or fruit in them rather than just using a bag per product. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll be here for a little bit.
Okay, so the two topics are school shootings
School shootings,
and meditation.
meditation, and breath.
Let's do meditation first. How many would like to talk on meditation? Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Correct, okay. And how about school shootings? Okay.
School shootings. What a lovely subject.
Put your name tags back on and your bags up here, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kara has some books up here. Get your beef.
There for you.
Get that. I put my change.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for the group.
They need to announce, hey, announce that there's no meeting next week.
Does anybody here remember? Mary took I did not have photographic memory. So after
Yeah, I don't see the need.
Hi, Mary. I'm going. Well, she has a set, but one of the things is I'm supposed to get to speak on.
Mary's coming back.
15 to 30 days.
They were,
Big car bag.
So by the time we get there,
I feel like I'm,
oh, Badger.
okay, I mean, it's really, you can't really finish it.
I'll see you there. Okay.
Happy birthday.
It's on, it's
Do you ever go to the place around the corner, they have a bar? It's good, they have Bridge Market, yeah, and their son.
Yes.